38mm full carbon clinchers. This is one of the lightest mid-profile depths on the planet. It will pretty much eat up any conditions you can throw at it. And if you're looking for an all-rounder, it's either this or the 49mm. They're the two ones that sort of meet everyone's demands. We've got the rim brake version and the disc brake version. I love riding these on a super windy day. They're still like crazy light when you look at the comparisons of it, but very strong, yet they will comply on a bumpy road. Stiff, light, durable. It's pretty much the perfect all-rounder. Yeah, if you're looking for something on that, Gran Fondo sort of style bike, or even I've seen these raced in crits, I've seen them as climbers, I've seen them on the front wheel of a TT bike in Kona. I've had a couple of athletes do that and run a deeper wheel on the back. So they do have multiple purposes, but just that wheel that you can trust and rely on, this and the 49, depending on what type of racing you're doing. If you're doing something deeper, obviously that's for your TT bikes, or if you're full-on crit racing. The braking on these will be as good as your aluminium, if not better. That is a very nice flat high temp brake surface. And the critical thing with carbon is you do not want any weave or textures on the brake surface that can trap water. I learned that many years ago, and it really surprised me when people use weaves on the brake track, because that water sits in there for at least a dozen rotations or more. On this, it can get sheeted off straight away and you get full pad contact on the rim. So yeah, you get a much better braking in the wet and in the dry. You'll see inside the wheel here where the nipple patching is on the rim there. So that area is one of the critical things on these wheels to make sure they're very light yet durable, because this is where your failures will occur. This section down here where a big hole is in the rim where it's all held together has a lot of stress put on it. So this area is much thicker, and I'll show you some cut up rims in a sec so you can see how it's thinned out in between and then thick here. It's the only real safe way to lighten a wheel to this level. You can also see the hub quality in here. I'll spin that around for you. So this is a 3D forged 7075 hub. So this is the Decadence hub. We obviously also have the Caden hubs. There's an overview video with those in there as well. There's no skimping on the Caden range. It's just that the cost of the difference of manufacturing is $150 a wheel. All that pays for is the nipple patching and the 3D 7075 hubs. Most people that do two levels, or most companies should I say, will do a cheaper spoke on the different models, whereas the Caden still gets this high-end spoke and the SAPM nipples, which are really critical to make sure there's no failures. Just, yeah, as you can see here, that hub takes a lot of extra work. I could actually put the price of Decadence higher. I don't. I want to keep them affordable, and it's just the cost of production difference variation. That's all it is. So I wanted to show you an Unbuilt 38mm depth rim, just so you can see some of the finer details, especially the nipple patching here. This is one of the critical differences of my wheels, and the only safe way to lighten a wheel to this level. It's not easy to do, that's why I harp on about it a bit. It cost me a lot of money in preformers, x-ray machines, etc. So all you're doing is you're reinforcing this really critical structure part of the wheel, then you're thinning out in between. I used to make racing yachts back in the day, and you thicken the mast base and then you thin out the deck as an example. There's a few mountain bike companies that do this, but hardly anyone on roads. So yeah, it's good to have a bit of an advantage there, because this makes a big difference to the weight safely. The rim itself, when you have a look in here, you can see how clean it is. Then when we get to here, you'll see the discoloration of the serial number there. That's actually it cooking through the curing process, getting that hot. These are cured upwards of almost 300 degrees, so you need to cure above the temperature you're trying to get the resistance for, your TG or your glass transition point. In other words, not melting your brakes point, which these will not do. Check my reviews, check how long I've been around for. It's very easy to go online. If there's anything like that happening with these, you would find out about it, which there isn't. And yeah, I pay close to double what I used to pay at my old factory. A lot of my competitors are still at that factory. And I'm glad I moved. It cost me a lot of money, but when you end up with an internal of a clincher look like a baby's butt and a wheel that doesn't melt, it makes me sleep very well at night. Okay, the 38mm Decadence disc brake hub. Just want to show you through this in a bit more detail so you can see what's going on and some of the machining work on it there. Get asked a lot of questions about these because of the through axles. So effectively all the new bikes, thank God, they regulated it at 12mm through axle front and rear. That means the diameter of the axle is 12. Then it's 142 wide. So the front is 100, so that's 12 by 100 front, 12 by 142 rear. Please just check that when ordering. But if you get a bike after 2016, that's what it's going to be, so you'll be fine. Before that, you may get quick releases on them. You may get a 15mm through axle front and a 12mm rear. All different combinations. Caden, the Caden range, should I say, has all those different adapters. They're able to have every single size you want. The Decadence ones are locked to 12/12. So I want to show you the front hub now. Give you a good little look at the detail on there. Beautiful CNC work. This is the 3D Forge 7075 Decadence hub. So we have the SAPM CX Ray spokes. The main area for deflection through a hub is not the actual hub shell, it's the end caps. You can avoid that very easily. I use an aggressive thread to lock into an axle, which is an oversized axle. The axle is the other place the flex comes from, not the hub shell, so that is a lot beefier than a standard axle. Never use slide-on end caps, because the end caps, they can slide on after 3,000 or 5,000 K, they end up starting to wiggle, and a weeny bit of deflection there ends up to a lot at the top of the rim. So yeah, we avoid all that, and even though it's a very nice aero, streamlined little lightweight hub, it's super stiff and it doesn't need maintenance. Front hubs really behave super well. Rear hubs cop all the beating, so they've got bigger bearings to handle it. And this front one will just keep rolling forever. Now I'm going to pull up a diagram of the rim profile with exact measurements, so you can see what's going on with the width, the internals, externals, depth. Now that's just one part of, I suppose, the design process, is getting that rim profile right. The offset drilling in these is really critical too, to make sure the line of the spoke and the nipple is kept straight to the flange, and there's no bending of the final thread on the spoke itself, which is one of the weakest points. So we keep that all straight, and that rim profile has another diagram off it for the drill rig, which is all matched up. Okay, now we're going to do a live weighing of the wheels. The industry standard for weighing wheels is no rim tape, no skewers, no bullet balancers, no cassette caps, no rotors, no nothing, effectively just the wheel. So that's how we'll be showing you the exact weights, comparably with how everyone else does it. The only difference being, I'm doing this live here to highlight the difference between claimed weights and real weights. A lot of wheels I weigh are anywhere from 50 to 150 grams over their claimed weights. Now, even though my weight's going to be obviously very light, they're still very durable. I've got a longer warranty than most. 38mm Decadence disc brake. Clincher is 1366.8. Now again, a bit over 50 grams for this. Let's just take 50 off. 1315 roughly. So again, a little bit under the claim weight. It's 60 grams difference between the disc brake and the rim brake, which is a very low difference. Usually disc brake wheels weigh a lot more than rim brakes, so that's nice and light. 38mm Decadence rim brake, weighing in at 1312 with the bullet balancers inside the rim and the rim tape. These weigh a little bit over 50 grams for the whole set, 40 grams for the rim tape, about another 15 for those. Round it down to 1260, so that's 10 grams under the website claimed weight. Caden 38mm clinchers, 1503 grams, so minus 40 for the rim tape is 1463. As you can see, looks exactly the same as Decadence on the brake track here, because it's the same resin system, same carbon, same mold. The only difference is no nipple patching. 99% of the rims don't have nipple patching, so you're not losing out on anything, just the same thickness the whole way around here. And it's a Forge 6066 hub, whereas the spokes are exactly the same, nipples same, all the critical things are the same. Tire sizes. I get asked a lot of questions on this. And the good thing about our wheels is you'll be able to get tires on and off very easily. I do the inner and outer diameters myself when I was creating the molds to make sure you're not going to be breaking levers or holding the boys up while they're waiting for you to fix a puncture. I've been commented, or multiple clients have commented to me how great they are to get tires on and off. These will fit any 700C tire. So whether you've got, 21 mil, 23 mil, 25, 28, 30, etc., etc., you can even fit a 29 mountain bike tire on this wheel with no problem, because a 29 mountain bike tire is the same inner diameter as a 700C road wheel. You're not going to do that. Just giving you an example of how simple it is. Whatever tire you want to use, go ahead and use it. Me personally, I run a 25 mil rear and a 23 mil front. The reason I do that is because a 25 mil rear in most Clinchers is actually a lot bigger. This is just a weeny bit over 28 mil, and the front 23 is a weeny bit over 26 mil. So that's more than enough tire for me. I'm 95 kg and 2 meters tall, and that's what I'm running. I see some really big oversized tires out there, and when you get to too big a tire, it will bulge. This here is not bulging, so that's a very big tire, and you'll see here how beautiful that sits within the profile. It's nice and aero, so what you've got on the leading edge, you've got the air flowing around seamlessly. There's no big bulge and lump, and the interface is clean. That's the critical factor in keeping a wheel aero, is matching it to the tire. Then on the rear half of the wheel, you've got the wind flowing over here, not separating, not getting angry, and not bulging and flying off. I've said it many times before, if you looked at your plane wing and there was a massive bulge hanging out the end of the plane wing, that thing ain't flying anywhere. Same as using a big 30 mil or a 28 mil tire. If you're going to use them, yes, use it on your rear, but you don't need it on your front. The rear wheel's the one that cops all the beating. So best advantage all round, I think, is a 23 front, 25 rear, or if you've got really shitty roads or you're off-road, a 25, 28 or 25, 27 is still really cool. Okay, valve stem lengths and write this down please, because you'll need to know what valve stems to order. So the 25 mil Clincher, get the smallest valve stem length available. I've seen 38s and 40s. If you can only find 48, that's fine. I mean, you can put an 80 on the thing, but it's not gonna balance to the bullet head, especially in the larger sizes. Each size, should I say, as the valve gets longer, has a heavier bullet head to compensate it and to keep the flywheel effect of the wheel and stop death wobbles. So for the 38 mil, you need a 48 mil or 50 mil valve stem length. They're the two sizes that are generally available for the 38 mil Clincher. For the 49 mil Clincher, you need a 60 mil valve stem length. For the 59 mil, you need an 80 mil valve stem length. And for the 81 mil, you need an 80 mil or a 60 mil valve stem length. And I'll send you two different extenders, so you have a choice for a couple of different options. They're free. That's the only wheel extenders come from besides the tubbies. So the Clinchers, you don't need extenders, which is great. You want to avoid them if you can. But I've got a custom extender for the 81, which is really good. The other thing with my wheel is, because it's a filament wound Clincher hook, it's super smooth inside the Clincher hook itself. There's no rough, coarse material like you get on a mold butt form rim, where you get variation and voids and sharp pieces inside. A very large company at the moment is not allowing lightweight race tires with thin sidewalls, because effectively, they haven't stated this, but this is why it's happening. The Clincher hook is scissoring in to the light sidewall and then blowing out the sidewall after a few hundred Ks. You can literally lick the inside of my Clincher hook. I've shown clients this because it's so smooth, and you won't have any scissoring of the sidewall, so you can run beautiful lightweight race tires without having the fear of any failures on the side. I personally run just lightweight butyl tubes. If you want to run, you can run any tube you want, obviously. Latex is good, but not much better than butyl, and it's expensive and it's a bit more fragile, and you need to keep pumping it up. So a nice set of light race tires with a lightweight butyl tube will just roll superbly. So these are the bullets that I hand weld. You can see they're all beautifully rounded on the back there, so there's no chance of any issues because they sit up under the rim tape. They have a little sticker on the back of them, then the rim tape as well. And so there's no chance of any issues with your tube or any problems on the back of them. That stops there. The reason I use bullets is they're the perfect size to fit in here, and they're separate weights, and it's cool as hell to have bullets in your wheel making you go quicker. So that's the 38, that's the 49, that's the 59, that's the 81. And I got a little tickler pistol bullet head for the 81s, depending if they need a little bit more balance or not, just to keep them really special, because the 81s you want super balanced for TT to keep that flywheel and speed effect going. Now, a lot of new drive systems, group sets, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe even 13 speed, etc. Are always changing, and we are on top of that and will always make drivers to fit every wheel. Caden or Decadence has every single driver type there is. I get asked this question a lot. You will not be superseded. We're not in the game of making things like a lot of other wheel companies have done in the past, where you can't swap out to the new standard. That was from, say, 10 speed to 11 speed. You had to buy a whole new wheel. They didn't make a component to crossover. We will not be superseding for sales. We will be making sure that all current and existing models are available with any new drivers. Probably the newest one to come out will be the Shimano spline system. That will probably end up being a 12 speed. Touch wood, there's not too much talk of more 13 speed. We don't need an extra gear for marketing. We just hopefully will stick with this, but if there is 13, we'll do that as well. Now, I hope you can see this. The reason I'm showing you this rim profile cut with some rim tape in it is because I worked really hard to avoid ghost punctures. Effectively, if rim tape is too narrow, it can slide in the rim, exposing one of the assembly holes, and then the tube can creep into it and explode internally. People will think they're getting punctures all the time. I had a guy come in just last week about this, and then I blew up one of the tubes that he'd just punctured on, and I saw that the puncture was on the inside of the tube, not the outside, and that let me know straight away he was getting an internal puncture from bad rim tape. So this does two things. The rim tape is nice and wide, it can't slop around in the rim and expose a hole. It also stops the tube from creeping under the tire bead. I meaningfully make my clincher hooks. I designed this whole hook system myself because I've seen lots of other wheels where the tire bead sits proud and high in here and there's a gap under it, and then the tube creeps under the tire. So when you hit a pothole, it pushes down on the tire and the tube's sitting underneath it. Hey presto, snake bite. With my tires, with my rim clincher hook, should I say, you can't get the tube underneath the tire bead. Tire bead sits snug up here, and then the rim tape, so it's a nice soft area for the tube to be sitting on. Avoid ghost punctures, avoid snake bites. As far as disc brakes go on road bikes, they've got very small, what I think is underpowered disc brake systems, and they can generate a lot of heat, especially for a big guy like me. So I'm developing my own disc brake rotor that has a floating system, not a fixed system like this. Currently all road bike rotors are fixed system. I was speaking with Glenn Alton, 3-time Superbike champ, and I used to do some motorbike racing as well. All their rotors have a floating system, so the expansion joint can happen in between here, 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 and here, and it keeps the rotors from getting heat warp and chatter and noise, etc., etc. So I'll have that coming out very soon, as well as some heat dissipating brake pads with larger cooling fins on them. So watch out, it'll be cool. All Caden wheels have a weight limit to at least 110 kg and are tested well above that by myself and machine testing. The reason for that is this beautiful filament wound clincher hook here, which holds the structure perfectly with no voids or air bubbles, and 100% bonding in one piece the whole way around the rim. The second part of that is the nipple patching. You can see how thick this bit is here. This is not one of my rims. I'm just showing this as an example so you can see it. Very thin nipple bed here. It's almost as thin as mine where it is in between the spans, let alone where this beautiful chunky bit where it needs to be, the nipple going through the rim. Also zero voids. Hopefully you can see this on the focus here, but there's voids around here and in here. This is where you don't want them, right on the braking surface, which is where all the heat happens, and you will get delamination failure on that point, which you will not get with the Cadens. All the UCI test is an impact test from a certain height, going around the wheel, hitting it in multiple points. Once you've achieved that, you pass the UCI test. we keep going times 10, 15 before we have any yielding, let alone a small crack, no structural catastrophic failures. If you fail the test, if a piece falls out of the wheel effectively, or you have a massive crack in the wheel, we've never done that, so passing all the tests. And yeah, there's no loss in getting a Caden wheel comparably to a Decadence. It's just the cost of manufacturing difference in between the two is $150 for each wheel, or $100 if you're in the US, or $100 if you are in Euro. So how do Caden compare? Well, I've got a couple of competitors around my range. You've probably had a good look at them if you're online. And the easiest way to answer that question is to just check the specs for yourself. Almost every time they'll be narrower, a lot heavier. One of my main competitors generally is about 200 plus grams heavier than my wheels. They won't have nipple patching. They won't have the bullet balancers. They wonge have 3D forged 7075 hubs. And they won't have the lemon next to the pie, and that is we do pay for import duty into countries. So we do delivery duty paid, because usually if you order a set of wheels and they arrive, you can pay anywhere from sort of $200, $300, $400 on top of it to get it cleared by customs. So when you look at the type of wheels we're making, I mean, this thing is an absolute weapon, just about to be released. And the TT disc as well. The tubular version of the TT disc is 810 grams. The tubeless version of the TT disc is only 860 grams. And these are weighing in at about 850 for the tubeless version and about 700 for the tubular. So yeah, I don't see companies in my price range making wheels like this. We are an end-to-end wheel company with top-end race products that are affordable, service, 3-year warranty. I think the choice is pretty easy, guys. Enjoy.